This was my very first round of Valorant, and I think it's what made me fall in love with the game straight away. I bought the Sheriff, which is, for all intents and purposes, a deagle. I picked up 2 kills with a collateral headshot, then got another, and then finished off the last guy in the teleporter room here. And I think the reason that I liked it was that it reminded me so much of Counter-Strike 1.6. Not CSGO, more like the older versions of the game. Counter-Strike is obviously a massive influence for this game. So I was playing this all last weekend. They did a really cool remote event online where some content creators and esports players were given access to the game for the entirety of the weekend from the Friday. And we could play the game in solo matchmaking, we could team up and play with friends if we wanted to, and do whatever we wanted really. And of course right now I can show you that footage and talk about everything in the game. So I think when Valorant was announced, there was a lot of hype for it. But a lot of people looked at it on the surface and thought, oh, that just kind of looks like Overwatch. This game plays nothing like Overwatch, but instead in terms of the movement, the gunplay, the level design, the game mode, the buy system, it is Counter-Strike. That's what this game is. It's Counter-Strike plus abilities. And when I say abilities, I'm going to go more in depth about what exactly that is and what gameplay implications they have. From my experience playing the game so far, the abilities that each of the 9 characters have are more of a complement to the gunplay rather than a press F to win button like some of the abilities are in other character-based shooters. And most of these abilities, I would argue, are for gathering information, blocking vision, temporarily denying access to an area for the purpose of time wasting, setting up to rush a bomb site or fake a bomb site, and moving enemies out of positions that you don't want them to be. There are a few ultimate abilities, let's say, that charge over time and can be incredibly powerful if you put them in the right place or if your aim is true. But those abilities are quite easy to counter and there's a lot of signaling for them. So on the surface, it seems to me at least, the gunplay is the king here. And there were times I was playing this and I almost forgot that I had abilities, and that's because I was playing it like Counter-Strike. You can still hold shift, check all the angles. Most of the weapons in the game will be a one-hit kill headshot, so you can just walk around a corner and one-bang someone, for example. Also, you won't have access to 2 of your abilities at the start of a round unless you buy them. So 2 of your abilities are actually tied to the economy system, and you have to purchase them during the buy phase of the round. Every character also has a signature ability which recharges over time, and an ultimate ability which recharges over a longer period of time, but you can speed up that process by collecting orbs that are dotted around the map in strategic locations that the defending team and the attacking team will no doubt be fighting over. So there's a lot of elements in play here. The game mode itself, if you haven't worked out already, is diffused from Counter-Strike or Search and Destroy if you've played games like Call of Duty. One team attacks, one team defends. The attacking team has to take a bomb, in this game it's called the Spike, to a bomb site, plant it and make it explode, whereas the defending team has to either kill all of the attackers or defuse the bomb if it's planted. And then the first team to hit 13 rounds will win the game. And as I mentioned, there is an economy system here too. So when the round starts, it's different to Counter-Strike in the fact that you can walk around the map at this point and you can actually push quite far into the map to hit those choke points and be ready to attack a certain bomb site straight away if you wanted to. One of the maps that I played had 2 bomb sites, another one had 3, A, B and C. To be honest with you, I didn't like the map that had 3 bomb sites. Maybe it'll take more time for me to get used to that because Counter-Strike, classically every map just has 2 and that seems to work really well. In that buy period at the start too, as you can see, there's all sorts of different things that you can purchase. Most of these are weapons. I'm not going to say their Valorant names because I didn't learn them, but you've basically got the equivalent of an AK, a Galley, an M4. You've got a burst rifle that you could say is the FAMAS. You've got a less powerful sniper rifle, which is the Scout. You've got an AWP or an AWP-like weapon in the Operator, which is a one-bang sniper rifle. You've got a silenced USP, you've got a deagle, everything's there. You've even got body armor and armor with head protection. They've even copied stuff here like loss bonus, so if your team is losing a lot, then you'll still have enough money to maybe get yourself back into the game. I know there's already a lot of information in this video, but I wanted to keep it at a high level. Mechanically speaking, I cannot fault this game. The servers are 128 tick. The hit reg is perfect. I didn't have any situations where I thought, okay, I felt like that should have been a hit. If you click on someone's head, they are going to die. And the same goes for you. The movement felt really nice and responsive. There's a ton of customization here, from the way your crosshair looks to the movement, the controls. The movement in general felt really nice. It didn't feel floaty or weird or anything like that. And I really enjoyed the map design and the clear lines of sight, and also the visibility of other players. People stand out. There's no hiding in the shadows here. This is a competitive shooter, and it does nothing to hide that fact. Also, the download for me was only like 2.5 gig, and I was getting about 300 to 400 frames per second. It's very well optimized. It runs great. They also talked to us about anti-cheat. They said that it's almost impossible to wall hack in this game because of how the rendering engine deals with stuff. I won't bore you with the specifics, but it sounded legit. With this being free to play as well, obviously anti-cheat and the systems that they've got in place there are really important to keep cheaters away when you've got such a competitive game like this. In terms of the gunplay, as I recall, every gun begins with a predictable recoil pattern, but then after you've been shooting it for a while, there is an element of randomness there. I liked the gunplay. Again, it just reminded me of Counter-Strike. If you want to be accurate, you've got to stand still when you shoot. You can tap fire to be effective. Crouching, I think, improved your accuracy and recoil as well. You can aim down the sight too on most of the rifles, for example, but for me, the only weapons that I actually aimed with were the ones that had scopes, like the Scout and the Operator. Now, there is a slight difference from what I remember between aiming down the sight and not. I don't know exactly what that does in terms of changing the weapon stats, but for me, I was just playing this like CS, and you don't need to aim because the guns are really accurate anyway if you're standing still when you shoot. One really cool feature as well is that they've already got a full practice mode in this with an aim training map where you can spawn bots and change the speed of them and all that good stuff. There's also a ping in the game, so you can just ping a location to tell your team where an enemy is or what's going on. Now, as we're getting towards the end of the video here, I wanted to show you some of those abilities that we were talking about earlier and just briefly go through some of the characters and show you the kinds of situations that you can use these abilities to your advantage. Omen, for example, is a bit of a creepy lad. Wears a hood. He's got a couple of different abilities. He can do one where you can drop smoke grenades, essentially, or big black orbs anywhere within a certain distance. So you open up this thing and you can tell the orb where to drop. So you could use this to obscure a sight line if you want to rush onto a bomb site, for example. This guy can also teleport short distances. So let's say you miss an orb shot like I did here. I could then teleport to the other side. The guy still thinks I'm there and peek from an angle that he wasn't expecting and kill him. He can do a vision blast, which goes through walls, and if it hits an enemy, it temporarily limits their vision. And his ultimate will let you teleport anywhere on the map. So let's say at the start of the round, you could pick CT spawn or T spawn or somewhere strategic where you might know enemies aren't going to be and teleport to that location. But as you're teleporting, it makes a loud sound and it puts like an effigy at that location that can be shot by the enemy team. So they can actually just completely cancel your ultimate and you're going to waste it in that situation. Phoenix is this guy here. He can throw flashbangs around corners using his fingers. You can go left or right. You can even curve them a little bit using your mouse. So you can use that to temporarily blind people. You've also got an ability which is basically a Molotov. Just throw it down on the ground, create some fire, will damage enemies, and I think it actually heals you if you stand in it. You can put up a wall of fire that blocks vision and will damage any enemies walking through. Again, you can bend that a little bit. And this guy's ultimate is called Run It Back. This lets you essentially cheat death. So you could put it down at a location, run around a corner, kill someone, and if you die in that scenario, it doesn't matter. You will respawn after you've been killed or after a certain amount of time back at that location that you activated that ability. Jet is a character who has smoke grenades at their disposal, so you can quickly block off lines of sight. You can do a dash, and your ultimate are knives that float around you. And you can activate these and instantly hit scan people with them. They're not a one-hit kill unless you get a headshot, but if you get a kill with them, they do actually replenish. So you could get some sick team wipes with that ability. We've also got characters like Breach, which allow you to do wall explosions. You fire a projectile into a wall, and on the other side of that wall, it will make a big blast that damages people. You've got wall flashbangs that you fire into a wall, and they flash whoever's on the other side of that wall or anyone looking at it. You've then got a short range earthquake and a long range earthquake. Cypher, this was actually one of my favorite characters in the game. You can put tripwires down. I think they snare people and reveal their locations. You can put up a camera, which you can then access, and then you can tag people with that. You can put out a trap that obscures enemy vision and snares them. And this guy's ultimate is a dead body wall hack, let's say. So if you find an enemy body on the ground, you go up to it, you scan it, and it temporarily reveals every enemy location on the map. And then you've got someone like Sova, who's got the bow and arrow, but of course this is an ability. Your main weapons are the guns that you buy. But with the bow and arrow, you can do a shock arrow, you can do a intel arrow that pings the location, kind of gives you a wall hack temporarily. You've got a UAV drone that you can fly around and tag enemies with, and you've also got wall arrows that you can shoot through the wall. One cool thing about Sova though is that the bow and arrow has a secondary function, so you can control the number of bounces. So you can actually bounce this around corners and hit locations that you can't see to gather intel or damage enemy players. There is a healer as well called Sage who can heal teammates, they can put up walls, they can revive teammates, they can put ice on the floor that slows people down and makes noise. A few others I haven't mentioned here, but I didn't really get that much footage with them. But hopefully from that short overview, you can see how most of these abilities are supportive in a way rather than directly being able to attack someone. It's much more about gathering information and denying movement, I suppose. A lot of them can be countered too just by shooting them before they've activated. But there are so many cool things you can do with these abilities. They did this whole demonstration where they showed us the ways that you can combo things and the kind of tricks that you can pull off with them once you've learned how to use them. This game is incredibly in-depth and there will be some absolutely insane plays coming out of it. With that said, I'm going to wrap up now because I don't want to go on for too long. I will say there's a few things that I didn't like about the game, though of course it's not all positive. First of all, when we started the game, only 5 out of the 9 characters were unlocked. 4 of them could be unlocked with paid for currency, or they could be grinded. Now for me, personally, in a game like this that's highly competitive and is akin to Counter-Strike in its values and core gameplay, I think every hero should be available from the get-go, and paid for cosmetics should be the only microtransactions in the game. Yes, they've got skins here, they've got bundles and everything like that, weapon skins, but for me personally, you should take the heroes out of that. If Riot are serious about this being a competitive game, I think they should just give everyone access to those heroes straight away, rather than putting them behind this system that you can unlock or pay money to get them. Also, I think some of the abilities could be sped up a bit. A lot of the abilities on the characters, you have to equip them first before using them. And I'd like to see that process sped up just a little bit, because there were times when I felt like I got killed because I was fumbling around equipping an ability. So I'd like to see that sped up just a little bit. And also the readability of the game sometimes can get really messy. Yes, this is something that will improve the more that people play and you learn, oh, that's an enemy smoke, that's a friendly wall. So that will get better over time, but there were moments when I was pushing a bomb site and there were all sorts of things going off at once on the screen, and it's so hard to focus on actually shooting people at times because it gets a bit messy. So I'd like a bit more readability in some of those particle effects and skills. But for the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed playing this, and the abilities here definitely add an extra layer over Counter-Strike that brings something new to the table. This game will be incredibly popular, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I think a lot of the Counter-Strike players will play this and probably really like it. Others won't. This game isn't going to kill Counter-Strike, and I don't think anyone wants it to anyway. It's just an alternative to that. And of course, I'm sure that Riot Games will just throw money at this, and there'll be multi-million-dollar tournaments going on which are streamed for years to come on Twitch and YouTube. It will be a big success, there's no doubt. From a technical standpoint, it's brilliant. But the gameplay won't be for everyone. If you don't like Counter-Strike, then you probably won't like this. But with that said, that is all for today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.